Hello everyone. Today, we're going to talk about a powerful and often invisible force that holds many of us back, the fear of failure. We all have dreams and potential, but how many of us keep our greatest talents locked away, afraid of what might happen if we try and don't succeed? We stay in our comfort zone, telling ourselves it's safer here. But is a life lived in safety without ever attempting something great truly a success? This story is for anyone who has ever been afraid to take a risk. It's a lesson about courage, purpose, and understanding what we are truly built for. So please, stay with us, as this story might just inspire you to finally set sail. In a small, quiet village named Riverbend, life was dictated by the river that flowed through it. The river was called the Widow's Rush for its wild and unpredictable currents. Years ago, a great storm had torn down the magnificent stone bridge that connected the two halves of the village, and life had never been the same since. The village was now divided. Trade between the two sides had slowed to a trickle, relying on a small, unreliable ferry. Families were separated, and the sense of community that once defined Riverbend was broken. The river, once their source of life, had become their prison. In this divided village lived a young man named Leo. He was a carpenter and an engineer of incredible talent. His hands could shape wood with a level of skill that seemed almost magical. His understanding of structures and balance was beyond his years. Yet, for all his talent, Leo was a man ruled by caution. He built the sturdiest fences, the most reliable chairs, and the safest, smallest footbridges over gentle, shallow streams. The villagers admired his flawless craftsmanship, but they were also frustrated. They knew Leo had the skill to build them a new great bridge over the Widow's Rush, but he refused to even consider it. His potential was like a giant locked in a small room. One day, the village elders gathered and went to Leo's workshop. "Leo," the eldest said, his voice heavy with desperation, "we are asking you once more. You are the only one who can do this. You have the gift. Please, build us the great bridge. Reconnect our home." Leo looked at their hopeful faces and then glanced towards the sound of the roaring river. In his mind, he saw visions of his bridge collapsing, of wood splintering, of his name becoming a curse in the village for his failure. The fear was a cold weight in his stomach. He shook his head. "I am sorry," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "The river is too strong. The currents are too dangerous. The risk is too great. It cannot be done safe." The elders left, their shoulders slumped in defeat. Living in the village was an old retired sea captain named Elias. He had spent his life sailing the world's oceans, but had chosen the quiet of Riverbend for his final years. He was a man of few words, often seen sitting on his porch, carving small, intricate model ships, and watching the river with the same respect he once gave the sea. He had seen the elders speak to Leo, and he had seen the fear in the young man's eyes. He recognized it well. It was the same fear he had seen in many young sailors before their first great storm. Later that evening, Captain Elias found Leo standing on the riverbank, staring at the wild, churning water. The young man looked small and defeated. The captain walked up beside him, not saying a word at first. He simply stood there, looking at the river too. "She is a powerful force," the captain finally said, his voice raspy like old rope. "She demands respect." Leo just nodded, still lost in his thoughts of failure. He was trapped in a harbor of his own making, and he had no idea how to sail out. The next day, feeling troubled and lost, Leo found himself walking towards Captain Elias's small cottage. He felt a strange pull, a need for guidance he couldn't explain. The captain welcomed him inside. The cottage was like a museum of a life lived at sea. Old maps covered the walls, a brass compass sat on a table, and on every shelf there were beautifully carved model ships of all sizes. Leo's eyes were drawn to one in particular, a magnificent model of a galleon with tall masts and intricate sails, sitting proudly on the mantelpiece. "That is a beautiful ship," Leo said, his voice full of admiration for the craftsmanship. "She was," the captain replied, a spark of memory in his eyes. "The Wanderer, my greatest vessel. We sailed her through storms that would have torn other ships to splinters. We discovered islands no map had ever shown. She was a true queen of the ocean." He paused, taking the model from the mantel and holding it gently. Then he looked at Leo with a piercing gaze. "It was a fine ship, and you know, a ship is safest when it is in the harbor, where the water is calm. In the harbor, it will never face a storm. Its wood will never crack. Its sails will never tear. It will be perfectly safe. But that is not what ships are built for, is it, son?" The words hit Leo with the force of a wave. reshape. He stood in stunned silence. The captain continued, his voice soft but firm. You, Leo, are a vessel built for greatness. You have the strength, the design, the talent, but you keep yourself moored in a safe harbor, terrified of the storms of failure. You build small, safe boats that will never leave the calm bay. But what is the purpose of a bridge, my boy? It is to cross dangerous water. It is meant to face the current. A plan for a great bridge that stays only in your mind is like a great ship that never leaves the harbor. Its true failure is not in collapsing, but in never being built at all. Leo left the captain's cottage with the old man's words echoing in his mind. He went back to the riverbank. He looked at the wild, roaring water, but for the first time, he did not see an unbeatable enemy. He saw a challenge. He saw a purpose. He saw a sea that was waiting for his ship to sail. That night, he did not sleep. He stayed up, lit by a single candle, drawing new plans, not for a small, safe bridge, but for a great bridge, one that was both strong and beautiful. A bridge that would not just defy the river, but dance with it. The next morning, Leo walked into the village square with his rolled-up plans. He went to the elders and said, "I will build the great bridge." A montage then shows the construction. We see Leo, no longer fearful, but a confident leader, guiding the other villagers. We see them working together, cutting wood, laying foundations. We see small setbacks, a rope snapping, a beam not fitting, but we see Leo calmly finding solutions, his fear replaced by focused determination. The final scene takes place a year later. The Great Bridge of Riverbend stands complete, a masterpiece of wood and stone, connecting the two halves of the village. The entire community is on the bridge, celebrating. Laughter and music fill the air. Leo stands in the middle, watching families who were once separated, now embracing, watching traders move freely from one side to the other. He looks to the riverbank and sees Captain Elias, who gives him a slow, respectful nod. In that moment, Leo feels a sense of peace and purpose that is far greater than any safety he had ever known in his harbor of. This story teaches us a vital lesson. Our potential is not meant to be kept safe and unused. It is meant to be tested against the challenges of the world. True failure is not in trying and falling short, but in being too afraid to ever set sail. So ask yourself, what great ship are you keeping safe in the harbor? Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next story.